Hello beautiful, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bettina and I'm a makeup enthusiast. In today's video, I am going to be sharing with you every single product that I hit pan on in 2021. So I managed to hit pan on 37 products in 2021. So today I'm going to show you what those products are. And before we get into that, if you are new around here and you haven't already, I hope you would consider subscribing down below if you do love watching project panning content. And without further ado, let's jump on into the video and let me show you all of the items that I hit pan on in 2021. I have been tracking the products that I have hit pan on throughout the year because otherwise there's no way I would have been able to remember all of these items. The first pan that I hit in 2021 was from this palette right here. This is the Bare Minerals Aurora Lights palette. I love this palette. I think it is one of the best palettes that Bare Minerals has ever come out with, and I have actually hit a few pans in this palette already. I think I hit 4 pans in this palette last year and then first up this year. I think this was rolled into, I can't even remember which project it was. It might have been my Pan Those Eyeshadows, maybe my Roulette Pan collab. I can't quite say for certain, but I managed to hit pan on this color here, which is Interstellar. And I don't want to blind you because there is a mirror right there. So let me flip it over. This one here is Interstellar. It's got a pretty decent amount of pan on it. That one right there. And as I said, I really like this palette. So I do quite often reach back for this palette, or, you know, whenever it comes to panning some form of eyeshadow, when I can pick it myself, I do normally grab for this palette because I really like it. At the moment, I actually have the color Catch Me If, which is this one here, in my Roulette Pan collab. I'm hoping that I can hit pan on it before the next update in my Roulette Pan collab. So this definitely was one of the palettes that I rotated into my Pan Those Eyeshadows. So Makeup Geek Vegas Lights palette. I've had this palette for so long, but in this palette I did hit pan on the color Mirage here, which is this one in the corner. I managed to hit pan on this one really quite quickly because, you know, it's a very good lid setting shade, good for setting primers and all of that jazz. So managed to hit pan on that one pretty quickly, and I was really glad to rotate this one in to my Pan Those Eyeshadows because it's a palette that I haven't really reached for quite a long time. Next we have a couple of Makeup Geek shadows, and we will revisit this a few times in this video, but I quickly want to show you this. This is my Empty Z palette with my Makeup Geek singles. I think this is like half of my Makeup Geek single collection, and let me show you all of these pans because by golly gosh, it is satisfying. I panned so many of these this year. I am so happy with myself after panning all these. The first shadow from my Makeup Geek singles is my single in Creme Brulee. This was the first Makeup Geek single that I hit pan on this year. Very decent amount of pan there. It's so satisfying. I don't know about you guys, but I love watching videos of things that people have hit pan on because I just find it so satisfying and motivating when I watch them. Next we have a face product. I hit pan on this product quite early on in the piece, and I have just gradually really focused on expanding the pan throughout the year. That's my NARS Laguna bronzer that I'm talking about, and this is how much pan I have on it. So at the start of the year this year, this had no pan on it at all, and I have just been working away at this one till I have made this much pan. So I'm super proud of myself. My goal on this one for next year is to completely finish this one up at some point. I'm hoping I can get that one done. Next up is one of the highlighters that I was working on in my team project pan. That was my Stila. This is the All Over Shimmer Duo in Kitten. So my goal on this one was to hit pan on both sides. In this one, it's a little duo. There's like a pinkier side and a darker side on it. I hit pan on the lighter side. It took me a little bit of effort, but I did manage to hit pan on it earlier on in the year. Once I hit pan on that side, I decided to move on to the darker side and try and hit pan on the darker side. And for those of you that were watching my Team Project Pan updates throughout the whole year, you'll know what happened to the darker side in this palette. The pan is very loose in the darker side, or the pan is very loose on the darker side of this duo. So it will quite often fall out on me. I think that you can guess where this is going. So one day during one of my updates, my Team Project Pan update, I was showing this to you guys so I could show you how much progress I'd made, and the darker side fell right out of the pan, right out of the compact, landed on the floor and shattered everywhere. So I was getting very close to hitting pan on that shadow. So I am calling this still a success because I had already made a lot of progress on the darker side. So I'm calling it a success. I'm counting it as one of my pans that I've hit this year. So this is the darker side, which I managed to completely finish. And then this is the lighter side, and you can see that little pan right there. So that's the disaster that was the Stealer All Over duo in Kitten that happened this year. I think like to try and finish up the lighter side at some point, but I don't think I want to revisit this one in the new year anytime soon. Maybe towards the end of 2022, but not anytime in the immediate new year. The next ones come from my Tarte blush wheel. I was working on this one in my Pan That palette series. This was one that I was focusing on for quite a while this year. And throughout the year, I managed to hit 4 pans in this palette. So this is now what it's looking like. So I managed to hit pan in the color Mod up the top here. Then we also have Concept, which is this one here, Iconic, which is here, and this one is Ironic. I was hoping that I would get more pans in this palette by the end of the year, but I think 4 pans in the palette, considering I was working on this one I think for maybe like 8 months, I think 4 pans in the palette is quite a good effort. Another one from my Pan Those Eyeshadows comes from my Chica y Chico One Shot Eye Palette, and in this one I managed to hit pan on the color Red Eye, which is this one up in the corner here. That's that one there. And I hit pan on this one last year. I think it was like late last year. Hit pan on that one pretty easily because again, it's a good like all over lid setting shade. This one was a really nice like shimmer color. I quite like the formula on these little Chica y Chico palettes. I think basically all of the eyeshadows that hit pan on this year come from my Pan Those eyeshadows. So rather than repetitively saying that, if it's an eyeshadow that I've hit pan on, you can safely assume that it comes from that project. The next one comes from the ABH, or the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. And I have hit pan on the color Cube up in the corner here. This is actually a really nice shimmer color. It's like a iridescent pinky color. It does, I find mine gets a little bit of like hard pan every now and then, but it is nice for like inner corners and to use as a topper. It's a really nice color actually. Quite like it. I would like to, obviously, again, like to hit more pans on this palette because I haven't really used this one all that much of recent times, but I do really like the color story of this one. We have another Makeup Geek single. This one is Makeup Geek Peach Smoothie. So throughout my Pan Those Eyeshadows project this year, I was really aiming to hit pan on a lot of my Makeup Geek singles, and these ones were ones that I myself picked out of my collection rather than randomizing them. So that's why Makeup Geek singles are featuring quite heavily in this video, because I really set myself the goal of hitting pan on a large number of these singles this year, just because they are like basically the oldest singles in my collection. Moving on, I have a pan in my Suva Beauty Artisan palette, and the pan in this one is this color Perspective. Again, this one's a really nice color. I love colors that are like this shade of like pinky magenta type color. I really like these shades for like outer corner. It's only a really tiny pan in there because I was using like a really small fluffy brush, but you know, it still counts. It obviously still counts. We have a really tiny single that I hit pan in. This comes from one of my Makeup Forever singles, which I depotted from some of my Makeup Forever palettes that I had, and I like depotted all of the little singles out, chucked them in a little magnetic palette. So I did hit pan on this one, a fairly decent amount as well. A single that took quite a lot of effort to hit pan on just because of the formula, it's quite chunky and stiff, is my Bobbi Brown Bone eyeshadow. This is a sparkle eyeshadow formula in Bone, and I managed to, there's a pan like right in the center there, but this one took me quite a while, bit of an effort to get pan on it because of the formula. Like I said, it's quite a stiff, dry, chunky formula, so I did have to, just to pick it up and put it on the eyes, it took some effort. Like you really had to dig your finger in there, otherwise it wouldn't pick up at all. As well as this next one took a bit of a feat because these shadows in this palette are very deep, so they take quite a while to hit pan on, and it comes from my Bare Minerals Wish palette. I really like the formula on these ones. It's a really nice formula, and the color story is really nice. It's like really nice and wearable. And in this one, I managed to, and this palette is broken, one of the hinges is broken, which does not make it easy to show the eyeshadow, but there is a pan in Bubbles, which is this one here. I have already hit pan in 2 other shadows in this palette, but Bubbles is the one that I managed to make this year. Moving back to a couple more Makeup Geek singles, and I did manage to hit pan on another, this is the Makeup Geek Peach Smoothie. I do have 2 of these in my collection, so I have pan on both of them. So let me show you them side by side. They almost have like identical pans in them, but that's them side by side. Holding them up like this, they actually look like they are slightly different in color. And I also hit pan, which is the tiniest, probably the tiniest pan you will see in this video, but I managed to hit pan in Cocoa Bear, and it's just the tiniest little pan right in the center there. Again, I only was using like a really small fluffy blending brush for this one, so that's why the pan is so tiny. My Melt Rust palette, I hit pan on the color Tarnish in this palette. This color is so nice. It is such a pretty color to wear as like an all over lid shimmer color. It is so nice. The other mattes in this palette also go really well with the shimmers. Really like this palette. It's a really nice, like everyday neutral palette. Another Makeup Geek single that I hit this year is, where is it? The color Frappe. Again, you know, a decent amount. The next pan that I hit is a little bit of a cheat because it is a cream product, but I do still count this as a pan because, you know, a lot of cream products, cream products can take a while to get through. So I still think that it is an achievement to hit pan on a cream product. So this one is my Fenty Cream Bronzer in Butter Biscuit, and that's the pan that I hit there in the corner. I really want to try and expand the pan in this one in the new year. I also have the color Amber, which is the more contour color. This is more the bronzer color. I would really like to hit the pan in Amber and then come back to this one and really try and expand that pan out. I got these, was it earlier this year or late last year? But yeah, I think they're verging on like that 12 to 18 month mark in how old they are. So I would really like to get some more use out of these because I imagine that the formula will probably start changing soon. I did hit a pan in my Inglot singles this year, just the one, or in my larger singles palette. So this is my Inglot like custom singles palette. I only managed to hit pan in one of the shadows in here. This is the color 330, this one in the corner. And again, I would really like to see this palette a little bit more used and abused. Another single shadow, this time it's in a single compact that I hit pan on this year, is Urban Decay Solstice. And that's the little pan right there. I really like this color, but because it's in these little single pans, I hardly ever reach for it, but when I was using it, I did really enjoy it. So another single from Makeup Geek is my Makeup Geek single in Bitten. And again, only quite a small little pan there. And then my two other pans that I have in my Makeup Geek singles is the Makeup Geek single in Grandstand, which is such a nice like lid color. It's so pretty. And one that I only hit in the last couple of weeks is Starry Eyed by Makeup Geek. So that's all the singles that I hit in my Makeup Geek palette this year. So I hit pan on another 8 shadows in this palette this year, which takes me to 9 pans in total in this palette, which I am super happy with. I would maybe like to hit a pan on another couple in the new year. I was making progress on this one up in the corner here, Chickadee. That was in my Pan Those Eyeshadows for a couple of months before the end of the year. So I would possibly like to put that one back in another project in the new year, try and hit pan on that. Maybe a couple more of these shimmers. We'll see what happens in the new year. Haven't totally decided like which single eyeshadow formula I really want to focus on in the new year. It might be my Makeup Geeks again, might be my Inglots, just to mix things up a little bit. Haven't really decided. A couple of face palettes that I hit pan on this year. Firstly is my ABH contour kit. I managed to hit pan on 2 colors in this palette, which I never thought that I would actually do, but I did manage to do it this year. So I managed to hit pan on the pinky color, which I hit pan on first, and then just recently I hit pan on the banana color, and I have been working on expanding both of these pans in the last couple of weeks. They both have a decent pan on them, which is very exciting. Now that I have filmed this video, I think I have decided that I do want to franken these, and I want to mix them together. Whenever I use these on my eyes, I mix them together anyway. So I think if I crush them up and actually press them together, it'll make my life a lot easier. So that is going to be my project in the next couple of days. I'm going to go ahead and finally do that now that I'm filming this video. We also have 2 pans in the never-ending palette that is the Too Faced Love Flush Blush Wardrobe. I was hoping to have this one completely used up this year, but that didn't happen. So I settled for hitting 2 pans in this palette. So out of the 3 blushes that are left in this palette, I managed to hit pan on 2. Next year, I would really like to have this one completely finished and out of my collection, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I might try and focus on maybe at least just getting those 2 pans that I have hit used up, or maybe just hitting pan on that last one. I'm not quite sure. My thoughts for now are that this might just come into my Pan That palette for maybe a couple of months. I can just get a little bit of use out of it and then rotate in one of my other blush palettes. Haven't really decided for certain yet. It might change when I finally rotate this in and kind of get the motivation to completely get it done. Once that gets into my system, sometimes it's really hard to say no. Another Inglot shadow that I hit pan on, this was one of my little samples that I have from Inglot. It's this one here, which is number 290. This one took forever to hit pan on. I had this one, I think I might pan those eyeshadows for like 3 or 4 months because it is such a densely packed shadow. It took forever to show any signs of wear on it, and then it took forever to show a dip, and then I finally managed to hit pan on it. That one was an effort and a half. A pan that I hit just recently was in my Sleek face contour kit. I was really kind of testing the waters with this one because I thought maybe I might rotate it into my team project pan at some point this year, given that it has a bronzer and a highlight in it. After hitting pan on the highlighter this year, I am a little bit scared because the pans in this one are super deep. So I only have a super tiny pan in this one because I worked on this for so long and it just took forever to hit pan. These pans are really deep. So now I'm terrified. I'm terrified to try and rotate this into any kind of project and work on it, because it's going to take me an effort and a half to try and expand that pan and hit pan in the bronzer, especially because the bronzer is quite pigmented. Me being like as white as a ghost, I don't need much bronzer, so it would take me even longer than most people. A few more pans that I hit in my Pan Those eyeshadows. The first one is from my Urban Decay Naked 3 palette, and I hit pan in the color Limit. And we also have one in my Certified Dynasty palette. I didn't think that I was going to hit pan in this one this year, because I was really struggling with it up until a certain point, and then I discovered that I really liked how the color Glisten, which was the one that I was working on, went with the nail polish that I was working on in my Team Project pan. So I used it quite a lot for that purpose. I would like lay down the nail polish and then top this over the top of that, and it gave it like this really kind of nice bluey green look on my nails. So I finally managed to hit pan on it. And for kind of smallish shadows, these are like, they're decently deep for smaller size shadows. The last eyeshadow that I have to show you is from my Juvia's Place Saharan 2 palette. This was one that I managed to get at the 11th hour, so that's it there. I thought that I would really struggle hitting pan in this color, because I have been told that the Juvia's Place shadows take forever to hit pan on, and the fact that it was like a matte color, mattes normally take me a lot longer to hit pan on. But yeah, it only took, I think, maybe three months to hit pan on that one, so not too bad compared to other shadows that took me a lot longer this year. And then the last pan comes from my KVD Alchemist palette. I was working on this one in my Roulette Pan collab. I was working on the amethyst color, which is the ultraviolet, or like the iridescent purple shift color in the middle there. This was another one that I was using a lot for inner corner highlights and to top over nail polish. So I managed to get, you know, considerable amount of pan on that one. Very proud of myself. And this is another palette that I had lurking around in my collection for quite a while, and I never really got all that much use out of it. So it is really nice to see another pan on a palette in my collection that wasn't getting much use. That wraps it up, and that should be 37 pans that I made in 2021. I was really hoping to be able to hit 50 pans, but I fell a little bit short of that, but that's fine. I do think that I still managed to get like really decent amounts of pans on some of these products, so I'm still proud of myself. And I think 37 pans or 37 additional pans on products in my collection is a very good effort for the year, especially the amount of eyeshadows that I managed to hit pan on this year. Very proud of myself. Let me know down in the comments what products you managed to hit pan on. Were there any surprise pans that you found this year, or any products that you had been working on for a while that you finally managed to hit pan on? While you're down there, if you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you're new around here and you haven't already, I hope you'll consider subscribing down below so you can keep up to date on all my future project panning videos or all my other beauty content. That's it for this video, beautiful. I hope that you're having an absolutely fantastic day. I hope that you are staying safe and healthy and looking after yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, beautiful.